joining the office of Commissioner Rodney Ellis. I'm your former Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, and we're going to talk with our great clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth, on our 2025 elections. Today, early voting started, and this is your chance to exercise your right and your power. We are going to talk about the November 2025 election. I think we are waiting for a few more of our great friends and neighbors to join so that they can hear this important conversation about the 2025 November election from the Office of Commissioner Rodney Ellis. So we have a great team here ready to give you some facts about voting centers. I think they're still called voting centers. And to make sure you know any details about how you find out what's on your ballot, because Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth is here with us, and we certainly want to hear from her this evening. My team needs to tell me when I start the main part. Oh, okay. So we're waiting for more of you to join, because I know once you're on, you don't want to hear too much of a repeat because y'all are so smart. But we are going to talk about the November 2025 election. This is the Office of Commissioner Rodney Ellis, and we have our special outstanding clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth. We have over 280 people on the call and growing, and we're so glad that you want to hear about our November 4th general and special elections that are here in Harris County. If you're in Harris County, there is something on your ballot because we have a statewide county constitutional amendment election, so everyone has at least one thing on their ballot. Again, Office of Commissioner Rodney Ellis, we're up to over 300 of you, and so we're very excited to talk to you about the 2025 November general and special elections. You ready for me to proceed on? Okay, so thank you for joining again. I'm former Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, and we'll touch on why this election matters. Our democracy is at a critical point, and it depends on people like you on this call to play your part to make your voice heard. We want to make sure that every voter on this call is better prepared to cast your vote and be informed, and hopefully you can empower those you know in your communities to do the same. This November will include a wide range of contests, including the special election for the 18th Congressional District. This is finishing the term that was started by Commissioner Ellis's dear friend, the beloved Honorable Sylvester Turner. So this would be to finish the last year of that term. We also have city and school board races across Harris County, community college trustee elections, MUDs. Those are usually in our unincorporated areas. And let me tell you, they usually have less than 100 votes, so your votes really count in those races. We have local bond measures to spend more of your public dollars. And we have, again, statewide constitutional amendments. There are 17, so no matter where you are, you can vote on those, and that changes the Texas Constitution. All of these races will affect how we educate our children, fund infrastructure, and deliver essential services to ensure public safety. And they can shape how our resources and power are distributed across all of our communities. And the bigger picture is that voting is not just about civic engagement, it's about power. There wouldn't be so many constitutional amendments, 5 to be exact, that discuss your right to vote, who, how, and where. You choose who governs us, but also how they govern us and what money they can spend. Unfortunately, Commissioner Ellis has seen and has been working to combat, but he has seen that this power is under attack and that there are folks working overtime to turn back the clock on our voting rights. We're so grateful that Clerk Hudspeth is here as she stands on the front lines as well. These attacks are not with billy clubs or poll taxes, but like they used to be, but they do come through bills, bureaucracy, and bad faith politics. So extremists are trying to redraw our maps, including our congressional maps, to divide our communities of color and weaken their political power. These changes are not by accident. They are intended to suppress participation and limit working class communities from shaping our shared future. We cannot control every decision made in Austin or Washington, but we can control whether we show up in Harris County during early vote and for the general election. Voting is foundational, and so when you spread the word, you are helping others get to the polls. We're hosting this event again with Clerk Hudspeth to ensure that every member of our community has the information and resources that you need to get out to vote. With that, I have a few instructions to make sure that you can submit your questions because this is your chance to express any concerns or questions as you prepare to vote. Please, if you have some, please press 0. Again, press 0 on your keypad, on your cell phone. Oh, sorry, these are landlines on your phone. And one of our great Commissioner Ronnie Ellis team members will assist you in joining the conversation. Now, without further ado, with over 600 of you here to hear Clerk Husband, let's hear our special guest, Harris County Clerk Tanisha Husband. She serves as our Chief Election Official for, again, Harris County. She's responsible for administering the special, primary, and general elections whenever they occur. In addition to these duties to administer our elections, the clerk's office records and maintains the records of the commissioner's court, all of those minutes, votes, decisions that may affect you, and vital documents for your life, as well as property records, marriage licenses, birth and death certificates, and actually so much more. But I know you'd rather hear from her. So welcome, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Good evening. So good to see and be with you all, and the listeners are listening very closely to us talk about the local elections. So thank you to Commissioner Rodney Ellis, our Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, for allowing me to come in and talk about why this election is just as important as all the others.
Thank you. So, Clerk Hudspeth, how is this election different from the typical presidential year or midterm election in an even year?
So, obviously, we know 2025 is considered an odd year election. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, people don't realize that there's an election that takes place every November, whether it's an odd year or even year. After every legislative session in the state of Texas, there is sure to always be constitutional amendments. So let's start here. No matter where you're at in Harris County or the state of Texas, you will see 17, that's 17 state constitutional amendments, and all of them apply to you all because you're taxpayers in some form or fashion, whether it's property, whether it's school board, whatever your dollars go, it impacts these individual constitutional amendments. Also on the ballot, as you mentioned earlier, is a special election for Congressional District 18. We know that this seat has been vacant since March, and the voters and constituents of that district have been waiting as patient as they can be to have representation. But with that comes a great deal of loss to that district. And so I'm glad that we are finally having the order called by the governor to conduct this election to ensure that representation takes place in District 18. Also, the City of Houston at-large 4 has a special election for those that reside in travels through generations, right? And we know more than ever in the impacts of this year and all the changes from federal down to local, there's been impact to finances, grants, so many things that our constituents benefit from, resources. And so we got to get our heads in the game, voters in Harris County. This campaign is all about your vote matters. Because if you don't know what vote matters now, you never going to know it. So we want to make sure that you get the information today. So I call this the odd year midterms, right? Where we have to really pay attention to how your state reps represent you, what they did to advocate in Austin that impacts you here back home. So that's an overview of what's on the ballot. And of course, today is the first day of early voting. So we have plenty to talk about.
Always a good launch. And wow, over 1,000 of you are excited to hear from the Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis, Clerk Hudspeth, on our November 4th general and special elections. Because general means, as she said, it always happens. And then we have some special races that normally wouldn't be in an odd year. That's what makes it special. I'm going to, again, we want to hear your questions. please press 0 on your keypad, and our great Commissioner Ronnie Ellis team will help you join the conversation. It could be by voice, or I could read the question for you, so you don't worry if you don't want to speak out loud. So Clerk Hudspeth, many voters don't realize just how powerful these local elections are, and you touched a little bit on it. We even have city council, school board. What's your office doing to make sure communities understand what's on the ballot and why it matters?
Yes, well, first of all, what everyone needs to know is that we don't conduct an election and then pack up and go home. Elections are year round. When we're closing out one, we're already working on the next. And so the first thing our office has been doing all year round is making sure that our outreach teams are all over the county, whether it's a civic organization, whether it's your church or community events where we have individuals who've done demonstrations on the voting machines, educating you on what's coming next. As a matter of fact, every single commissioner precinct has held a voter education event, community meetings. Also, we're doing a whole PR campaign on Your Vote Matters. It's all nonpartisan information. It's not telling you who to vote for. That's not what we do in the clerk's office. But everything from radio to PSAs to social media, and actually going to events. I always say, there's nothing wrong with in person. That has the greatest impact. You can go to Harris Votes. Our office works around the clock to make sure that your ballots are accurate when you go vote, translations are accurate, that accessibility is ensured, and most of all, making sure we have accurate amount, more than enough polling locations in our county. So a robust amount of polling locations for early voting, 70 to be exact this election. So you can go to any one of those 70 vote centers to cast your ballot. Only one time though. Don't try to go every day.
My goodness.
Right, just one time. So 70 vote centers if you're going in person to go vote, where you can absolutely vote anywhere. And then of course election day is November 4th, where there'll be 600 polling locations that you can vote anywhere. But if you're listening and you qualify to vote by mail, you're 65 and above, sick or disabled, outside of the county on or before election day, confined in jail but not convicted, or you have a college student that's registered in Harris County but they're in another county, you qualify to vote by mail, and you can go to Harris Votes today. The deadline for our office to receive that application is this Friday, October the 24th. That means received in our office. So we'll say this, I'm sure, a couple of more times before we end this call. But our office has been working overtime to train election workers, make sure that all of our polling locations are ready to go, and just to offer an efficient, safe, and successful election for the voters of our great county.
Thank you, Clerk Hudspeth, and over 1,000 are still listening to hear this important information about the November 4th general election and special election with the Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis. I want to follow up on that mail ballot. Is this the same process as 2024? I was out just walking around, and one of my elders said they had not received their mail ballot this year, and I think they've been used to receiving it just regularly.
Absolutely. So the state legislature passed a bill some years ago that created an annual ballot by mail system. For many years that I worked in elections, once you were 65 and above, you automatically received a mail ballot. But that law changed to where you have to request your ballot every new calendar year. So if you're 65 and above, sick or disabled, and you have that ADA compliance there, at the top of every year, January of 2026, January 2027, you can request all the mail ballots for the entire year. Now this is specifically for that 65 year and above, but it doesn't carry over to the next calendar year. So if you're not sure if you have done so, you can simply go to harrisvotes.com and go to apply for ballot by mail. You can look up the mail ballot tracker, whether or not we have an application on file for you. And if not, you can get it done as soon as possible. Again, the deadline is this Friday, October 24th to apply and for us to receive that application for ballot by mail. So it is every calendar year that some voters can do annual, but this is the time to check it now, right? We're in the middle of early voting. So if you're able to check that, we've got time to get you all set up and ready to go. The application and information is overwhelming. I will say that not all of our state officials make it very easy to read and understand, but with the application and the ballot by mail process, those voters can receive an assistant or witness to assist them with reading and understand the ballot, for those who need assistance, of course.
Yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying that, because I think in the May election, it was a little bit fewer jurisdictions. And so some of our residents on this call may not have applied.
That's right.
Because there wasn't something on every ballot. But for November, there's something on every ballot for the state constitution. You mentioned a few of the key dates. Can you tell us some of the other key dates voters should be aware of as they're making their plan to vote?
Yes. Well, we mentioned earlier that today is the first day to vote early. You have 12 days to do so. Early voting will take place from now until October 31st. 12 days, no excuses, right? It includes a Saturday and Sunday. The hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., except Sunday, noon to 7. And then, of course, October 24th, this Friday, just days away to apply for ballot by mail. And Election Day, November 4th, is the final day that you can cast your ballot. So we're encouraging you to go to harrisvotes.com. Not just, you can look at your sample ballot. You can see what vote center is closest to you, maybe where you work, where you go to drop the kids off to school, or where you go shopping. I like the shopping part. So if you find a vote center near that area, is really good. But, you know, we passed the voter registration deadline. If you're not sure that you've updated your voter registration, or maybe you've moved to one part of the county to the next, you can simply go to Harris Votes and click voter registration. It will take you to Annette Ramirez website, which is the voter registrar. But, you know, those are part of making that plan to vote. Check your voter registration. Is your status good? Have you moved? Is your information up to date? Look at your sample ballot, print it out. You can take written materials. So again, written materials. You can't necessarily use your cellular phone inside the voting center. But if it is that sample ballot you print from Harris Votes, or you take your own, scratch paper notes. We mentioned earlier, those 17 state constitutional amendments are not necessarily easy and when understanding what for or against may mean.
And did you write the language?
And so I did not write the language.
Okay, just wanted to make
I'm
sure.
so glad you asked that question, because everyone should know that the county clerk did not write that language. As a matter of fact, attorneys and after, again, that legislative session, they come together and they prescribe that language. And I will tell you, I've had even attorneys tell me this is not so easy to understand. So that's part of doing your homework. And then, of course, when you look at that sample ballot, you can see if you qualify to vote in any other races. So again, you know, you'll look up and you'll say, oh, I heard on October 20th that it's first day of early voting. And before you know, it's Halloween. That's how you're going to know it's the last day of early voting, because it will be Halloween and it falls on a Friday. So we encourage you all to cast your ballot early in person. Anything can happen between now and Election Day, you know. We hope that everything's sunny skies, but, you know, storms, things of that nature. So we want to remind you, most importantly, again, for those who qualify to vote by mail, if you're 65 years and above, sick or disabled, you might even be a pregnant mother and you don't know if that baby's going to come between now and Election Day. You might want to apply for that ballot by mail just to be on the safe side. I know there are a lot of folks that say, I just have to go in person, right? The college student that's away from home wants to cast their ballot, and those that are confined in jail but not convicted. So those are all ways that you can do so. And this Friday, October 24th, we're just days away from that particular deadline.
I think that's important, but there's that in-between group that may have had an injury, they don't qualify for vote by mail easily. I think you still have a way for them to remain in their car. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. In the state of Texas, voters can vote curbside. So you've had an injury, you're sick, not feeling well, don't really want to share those germs inside the vote center. That's sick or disabled. If you don't make that application deadline for ballot by mail, you can go to any vote center, not just certain vote centers, but any vote center during early voting or Election Day and vote curbside. Right outside the centers, because of course all vote centers are different, there's a curbside buzzer and an actual label that shows you that you can vote curbside. You buzz that, an election worker will come out to assist you. Now, you still have to go through the check-in process. Just because you're curbside doesn't mean you're exempt. You still have to show your photo ID and your credentials to prove that you're a registered voter. And the election workers will process your opportunity to cast your ballot in that election. So again, curbside voting is available in and everywhere that we're at. You will be required and asked to fill out an affidavit per a new legislative law that passed this session, sort of an oath saying that, you know, you're able to vote curbside, right? And so not that a voter should feel questioned, but they do have to sign this form signifying that, they're eligible to vote curbside. So again, anywhere, if you're sick or disabled, there's an accident that comes up, and if you have someone that's driving you, that person can also vote curbside because they're assisting you with coming to vote. So thank you for that question. Sometimes we leave out curbside, right?
Yes.
And it's not till you get there and you remember that is available to voters.
Yeah, thank you for still having that, state of Texas, and of course, Clerk Hudspeth follows all state laws to a T. Again, we're on here, the Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis. I'm Erica Lee Carter. Please press 0 again if you have any questions. I know she's doing an outstanding job, but usually we have at least 1 or 2 questions. Okay, listing resources, okay. I don't know if she's in charge of this, but I certainly will ask the question. Are there any resources, dear Clerk Hudspeth, for people who might need rides to the polls?
There are resources for folks that need rides to the polls, not per se my office. So the county clerk's office, let me just say this disclaimer first, as election officials can't offer rides. So you can't call my office and say, hey, I need a ride, come pick me up here and schedule it. But I will say that we have our City of Houston, the Metro partners, have made rides available for free for all of early voting and election day. It used to be just certain dates, and so Metro has agreed to provide, if you're voting and you need a ride, you can ride Metro for free on your route to go vote and come back for all days of early voting. I want to say that again, and election day. There are some organizations, maybe your church member individuals, who can offer a ride, but unfortunately the county clerk's office can't do that. We definitely don't have the resources, and it would not be within the bounds of the law that we can do so. But people should know that Houston Metro does offer free rides, and I just saw it yesterday. They did this last November. They're doing it again this November. All days of early voting and election day, you can ride Metro for free if you're going to vote. And simply you can, just let them know your vote and show them your ID as you do with Metro already, or you can show them your voter registration card.
Thank you, Clerk Hudspeth. That's incredible. Thank you, Metro, for stepping up to help people exercise their right and their power to vote. I think, okay, just checking again on questions. We're on the phone. Do you have a phone number for related to rides, but
Yes.
other election-related questions?
Yes. So you can call our election hotline, 713-755-6965, 713-755-6965 for any election-related questions. We will be available throughout the hours of early voting, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. each and every day. We have a call center awaiting your calls to support you and assist you throughout this election process. Voters should know that we can still vote countywide during early voting. You can go anywhere during early voting, anywhere on election day. That was definitely on the agenda this legislative session, but myself as your clerk and many clerks across the state of Texas knew the value of countywide, and we passed resolutions. As a matter of fact, our Commissioner's Court, a unanimous resolution was passed to support countywide voting, which makes voting easier and accessible for our residents. And so I'm so glad that the legislature got that right and we're able to still vote countywide, because in a county our size, we need countywide voting for all voters.
Yes, thank you, Clerk Hudspeth, for working with the Commissioner's Court, Commissioner Ronnie Ellis, who was certainly supportive and is happy to host you here this evening. Nothing was sadder. I remember working an election poll before countywide, and they were there right towards 7 p.m., and I had to tell them they were at the wrong place and could not vote.
That's right.
And that almost broke my heart. So that doesn't happen now. As long as you're getting there in line before 7 p.m.
As long as you're in line by
and
7
registered
p.m.
in Harris County, not another county.
That's right. Actually, you just brought up a really good point, because people hear I can vote anywhere and they think they could come from Fort Bend or Brazoria surrounding counties. So you have to vote in the county in which you're registered. Most of our counties and surrounding are countywide during early voting, but make sure you check where you live, right? I know you might work in Houston, Harris County, but you live in Brazoria County, because we're this big melting pot. So be sure that you know where you go. And in Harris County, we've been voting countywide since 2019, and it has been a great benefit, not only for the voters, but for our office. A lot less provisionals, a lot less paperwork and resources focused on that, and more efficient processes. If there's, I think there's a going question that most people have, and that is, if I'm voting in Congressional District 18 special election, have the redistricting lines or the maps changed? the maps are exactly the same as they have been in CD18 when you go vote now. If there is a runoff, they will remain the same. Those new maps will not go into effect until 2026, pending any legal changes, which could very much so arise. But we want voters to make sure that they have the accurate information. And so if you've lived in CD18, Congressional District 18, and you've worked in this area, you've lived here, you will vote on that ballot, and the lines or the maps have not changed for this district. That's been an ongoing question no matter where I go. And so understanding that, because I know there's been so much information and some not so great information. So you should know that. Again, if you're within the city of Houston city limits, you'll see the city of Houston at large 4. I'm in unincorporated Harris County, so though it is Harris County, Houston, I'm not within the city, directly in the city limits, so I don't get to vote in that race. So make sure you know before you go. That's what we like to say. Know before you go. Go to harrisvotes.com and check out that information. Also, we have worked so very hard to make sure that all of our polling locations are not only secure and efficient, but thank your election workers, because they're taking time to train and prepare, and without them, elections just do not work. Takes a lot of election workers in the ballpark of 12,000 individuals to pull off an election between early voting and election day. So thank them, and also thank our law enforcement. We have an election task force. Our commissioners support resources for our constables, sheriffs, and those individuals to be there for safety reasons, right? If there are anything that comes up at a polling location, they're within quadrants of our county to support us and help us. And so we're very thankful to them as well. So again, November 4th is the election for our general and special, and there is something for everybody to vote on.
Everyone. That means you, and whoever's not on this
That's
call
right.
that you also know.
That means your neighbor, your cousin's neighbor, and everybody else. So we need to make sure that we inform voters that every election matters, especially your local elections.
Yes, indeed. I think Clerk Hudspeth, you were getting an update as we started on how many voters have already jumped out there to participate in their local elections.
Yes, well, first day of early voting, right about 30 minutes ago, we were at 10,000 voters.
Wow.
Now, 10,000 voters sounds like a lot of voters, but in the county our size, where we have over 2.5 million registered, and of course we heard everybody has something to vote on, it is just the first day of early voting. So I do, typically those numbers rise each and every day throughout the early voting period. But we want to encourage you to vote. For those 10,000 that got it done, what they say, get her done on that first day, right? Kudos to you for casting your ballot and getting your I voted sticker. So if you got your I voted stickers, take a selfie outside the polling location and tag us at Harris Votes. Tag us at Harris Votes and share on your social media platforms to encourage voters and to remind them that an election is taking place.
Yes, well, thank you, Clerk Hudspeth. Thank you to the 10,000 and counting. I know those on this call will be getting their communities out as well. Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis is very glad to be hosting. Remember to press 0 if you have questions. We have our first question from the phone lines. Where can residents go to learn about the constitutional amendments?
Oh, this is a very good one. So earlier we mentioned the entire state of Texas has 17 state constitutional amendments to vote on. I always encourage voters to go to the nonpartisan voter guide that the League of Women Voters produces. You can go online, or you can simply get a printed paper. And the League, again, is a nonpartisan organization. They provide a voter's guide, and they explain a small summary to get you to understand what each proposition means for or against. Also, the Houston Chronicle does a voter's guide as well. So some of our media platforms does that throughout the city of Houston, and our political parties. If you choose to go for political party preference, it is still standard information. It's not, R versus D. It's more so, here's the amendment, want to vote for or against. Those individuals provide information as well. Here's what I will say. Make sure you're going directly to a reputable source. A lot of individuals are sharing things on social media, and some of those things cross over from state to different areas. So make sure you're going to Harris Votes, going to a reputable source. Maybe some of our commissioners or local elected officials are sharing that information. But make sure not just know before you go, but make sure it's factual information
Yes.
before you go, because there'll be a lot of information shared, and we just want to make sure that you have the accurate information before you make your voice heard for this election cycle.
Thank you, Clerk Hudspeth. And on behalf of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis' office, I will tell you there's such a range in the constitutional amendments. They have several dealing with property taxes, exemptions of certain populations from those property taxes, dealing with how much your schools, districts receive in funding. There are constitutional amendments relating to your judges and how they can make decisions about bail or how much people pay if they are accused, whether they're in jail or able to get out of jail. And there are constitutional amendments about, I lost the last one that I was going to say. It'll come back to me. But there are a wide, about funding for medical conditions, about setting aside a large amount of funding for certain medical conditions. And so it's a wide range of topics and interests. So I would advise, and I do plan to read and prepare, because it is lengthy language, state mandated language, and you may not easily understand if you don't bring your other papers in to decide how you're going to cast your vote.
And look, I'm the county clerk, chief election official of this great big county, and typically I vote early on the first day. But I said I need to do my homework and read the propositions well and make sure I understand them. So again, because there is so much information in those propositions, you can go to Harris Votes, print out a sample ballot, and take that written ballot, and you can mark it up and literally take it inside the polling location with you. Texas election law says written materials. Even if it's a notebook paper and you've made your notes and you didn't print out the sample ballot, that's fine. You just can't pull out your cellular device and use that while you're in the polling booth, right, in the election booth. But that is really good information to know. With 17 state that's a mouthful. 17 state constitutional amendments, you may not always really remember what the for and against means, and you might need some notes. So I always, League of Women Voters has a great voters guide. If you're wondering how to get there, you can just simply go to Google and go to League of Women Voters Houston. It will provide you that information, and again, many other different platforms throughout our city that provides clarity and summaries to those amendments. So let's all do our homework and study to show ourselves approved before we head to the polls.
Thank you, Clerk Hudspeth, and Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis. Commissioner Ronnie Ellis is so honored to host you. Here's a question from myself. Do you have to vote on everything that's on the ballot?
That's a great question. I don't get that question often. You don't. You choose what races you want to vote in, right? Although I do encourage you to cast a ballot in every race that's available to you or contest that's available to you, you don't have to necessarily vote. As a matter of fact, when you don't vote in a particular contest, it becomes what we call an undervote, right? Mm-hmm. So it shows that you may have voted on 10 items, but there might have been 20 contests, but you only voted in 10 of them and you left 10 empty. And so remember, when you don't make a selection in a contest, then you're essentially allowing others to make that selection and make that decision for you. But you're not mandated to have to vote in every single contest. So voters should know that, right? If there's someone that you feel doesn't represent you, or you're not really sure about something. But you should know also, at an election poll, if you're at a vote center, you can get assistance from our election workers. They can't tell you how to vote and who to vote for, but they can give you some assistance at the polling location. And our machines are all of our ballots are translated in Spanish, Vietnamese, or Chinese here in Harris County. Also, for those that are visually impaired, we have accessibility booths for those individuals, hearing, audio, and of course you can vote by mail. But it's really important to do that homework and make sure that you make decisions for you and your community and your loved ones.
I think that's wonderful and important to know that you still have a choice, even once in the booth, in case you did your homework and still just can't make that final decision, but you want to vote in other things on the ballot. And again, Commissioner Ellis is also happy that there's so much accessibility with the diverse number of languages in our county. Maybe they'd rather hear the ballot in other ways to make sure we maximize people of all types and are inclusive in our voting an election process. So thank you, Clerk Hudspeth, and your great election workers who are
Yes.
increasing accessibility for all.
Let's thank an election worker. This election cycle, we've been celebrating some of our election judges who have worked 20 plus years. I mean, years of service, not because they're getting paid a whole lot of money to do so, right? You and I both know this, Erica, but because they care about this civic duty and they care about the rights of voters and having the opportunity to do so. So when you go vote, make sure you tell at least one of those election workers, thank you for serving this election cycle. And hey, if you want to take it a step further, I'll put a plug out there. We always need more election workers. So you can apply to become an election worker at harrisvotes.com. You can simply fill out an application. And while we call it a volunteer opportunity, you are paid to work the polls. So if you are eligible and you'd like to, don't just some that actually has, photo document with it.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not. Now, back when I first started voting, that was some time ago. I won't age myself. And I was a student at Texas Southern University. You could use your student ID. But with our photo ID laws, they did away with that in 2010. And so, again, that driver's license, I don't know if I'm missing any other here. The U.S. passport, the handgun license, the Texas election identification card that you can get at DPS or any surrounding areas. All of those are within those photo ID requirements, and you can go to harrisvotes.com to take a look at that and make sure that not just know before you go, but have all the right documents before you go cast your ballot.
And so for some reason I have my voter registration card, but I lost my ID in the flurry of my life.
Yes.
How, am I able to vote?
You're absolutely able to vote. You will have to fill out what is called a RID, a reasonable impediment form. If you've lost your ID, we always encourage you to get another copy of it. It's less paperwork, it's less hassle. You don't have to come and cure your vote. So not, if you've left it at home or you have a car, we encourage you to go get that ID because it's just an easier process, less work. But if you don't have it, you've lost it, you can fill out the reasonable impediment form, still cast your ballot, but you will still have to come back at some point once you've provided those documents. Those additional documents can be the voter registration card, which is what you meant earlier. And if you're saying, well, what does the voter registration card look like? It is literally about a 4x7 white and yellow card. When you become a registered voter, that's the latest card. Normally they change the colors every other year. A white and yellow card that has your name, some numbers up there, people that represent you and the precinct that you're in, and your address information. So you can go to Harris Votes, look that up, know before you go, and be prepared when you go cast your ballot this election cycle.
Yeah, thank you. I know everyone on here probably has it down, but just tell those who may need that extra help and know what ID and information they can have.
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to harrisvotes.com, if you want to, that's fine, or you can simply go at Harris Votes on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, right? Okay, I don't think I'm missing any others. We had to get off TikTok, unfortunately, and I really like TikTok because, that gets a younger demographic of voters voting. But that's all right. We still truck on anyhow in terms of documentation. But at Harris Votes, you can find all the information that you need to know. What's on your ballot, frequently asked questions, what vote center do I want to go to, all the different documentations that you need before you go. And we mentioned IDs earlier, so driver's license, U.S. passport, Texas handgun license. I'm looking here because I might be missing a couple of others that I'm going to mention here. For your photo ID requirements, there are a total of 7 acceptable photo IDs on Harris Votes that you can provide. A U.S. passport, I don't know if I'm missing U.S. passport earlier, your birth certificate, and am I lying them all out? I think so.
Yeah, you said it and made it plain.
Yeah, made it plain. So
what they can
I'm
bring.
looking here, double checking to make sure I'm not missing any of those vital documents. We mentioned earlier that, again, if you qualify to vote by mail and you absolutely want to vote by mail, the application deadline is Friday. So yes, Texas driver's license, a Texas handgun license, United States citizenship certificate containing your photograph, Texas personal identification, doesn't have to be a driver's license, that election certificate card, passport. Oh, your military identification card. I knew I was missing one.
Okay.
Your military, I'm glad you brought that question back around again. Your military ID card. We have veterans and individuals who serve in the armed forces, and so they're able to use those documents as well. Again, if you qualify to vote by mail and you want to do so, application deadline is this Friday, October the 24th.
Well, thank you, and thank you again to our veterans. We're coming up on Veterans Day soon, so we don't want to forget our military personnel who are serving so valiantly. So I think we want to see if there's any remaining thoughts that you have before we close. Thank you for those who are still on listening to about our November 4th and special general elections with the Office of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis. And we'll look at this last question. If I'm already registered to vote, but the address on my registration needs to be updated, what can I do to rectify this?
You simply find the closest vote center to you. You can go to any one, and you're going to fill out what is called a statement of residence form, SOR. You will still be permitted to vote, but you'll fill out this statement of residence, and that form will essentially allow you to update your address information. So you can go to any vote center this election cycle, go cast your ballot, and fill out a statement of residence form, an SOR. If you can't remember statement of residence, you can remember SOR form and update your address. So no worries, still go vote. Don't let that discourage you. Go ahead and go to the polls, ask for the SOR, say, I want to update my address. If you can't remember SOR, you can tell the election worker, I want to update my address, and they'll know exactly the form to give you.
That is so helpful. People move, but they still deserve to vote. And so your clerk husband has just told you, you can do that and say, I just need to update my address, but I'm in the system, registered, just updating my address. So we want to thank all of you for listening, who participated in this information from Commissioner Rodney Ellis and about the November 4th general and special election, because there are 2 elections that would not normally be on this ballot. And Clerk Husbands will remind you of those as she closes. Your questions and engagement are crucial for building up an informed and empowered community. Do you have any closing thoughts for her?
Yes, just remember that every November you have an election. Show up, make your voice heard. It's important because your vote matters. Early voting begins today and ends October 31st. That's 12 whole days. And if you must vote on election day, there are just some diehard election day people. That's okay. You can go vote on election day. Hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Go to Harris Votes for all your needs. And more importantly, if you can't go to Harris Votes, you can call our election hotline, 713-755-6965, 713-755-6965, and give our election workers something to do. Show up to the poll. They don't want to sit around and twiddle their thumbs. They want to process voters. And most importantly, get that I voted sticker. Show us your proof that you made your voice heard, and tag us on @Harris Votes, and we'll show you some love on our social media threads.
And thank you for that enthusiasm. I voted, and we want to all be counted in that number. On behalf of Commissioner Ronnie Ellis, Clerk Husbands, we thank you for your leadership and your valuable contributions. On behalf of myself, former Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, thank you to our constituents for listening and for defending democracy with your vote, your choice. Our democracy is only as strong as the conviction of the people willing to fight for it. I'm certainly on that number, and I think by listening, you all are among that number. Early voting has started today, goes through the 31st, and your last chance is November 4th. Make a plan, vote early if you can, and tell everyone you know to get to the polls for this important. Every election is important. Have your voice count and voice heard. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.